Hey everybody, welcome to Con on the Cob. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Today we're going to be doing some value studies. I streamed this over on my Twitch, so if you want to go see the full process start to finish and just vibe with me live while we chat and do some art, then my link will be in the description for that. But before we hop on over to the time-lapse, if you're someone who's looking to get into art, maybe as a hobby, maybe as a profession, or if you're doing that right now, like and subscribe, because I just kind of want to vibe, make some art, and maybe see some of your cool art too. So anyways, enough talking. Let's get into the video. I started out just by blocking out the shapes here, and I've never done this digitally before. Would you shut up? Guys, just get a bird. They're nice and quiet, trust me. I've only ever tried this with graphite and charcoal on like actual paper, so bear with me here. I'm just trying to get most of the proportions right and then go back later to clean up like the blocky mess into an actual shape. About halfway there. Get the idea out on paper first, and then you can like refine it and polish it later on. Except in the words of my fantastic background design prof, don't polish a turd. See, this is what I'm hoping to get quicker at, honestly, because if the thumbnail is taking me ages, that's probably not a great thing. But also, I want to take my time with it and really study the shapes, because man, am I impatient when it comes to art. Yeah, I am one impatient. Oh, I almost just broke the PG rule again. I need a swear jar. I'm one impatient guy. And I was doing the silhouette. I don't even know why I filled in the details here. So that I can clipping mask, paint over it later. Maybe a little bit more tapered at the bottom here. That is looking like a silhouette. Let's go. Clipping mask. Get that charcoal brush out. So here's dark. Slowly lightens up. I'm gonna go with the wood grain, because the light seems to follow the wood grain a little bit more. But yeah, okay, that looks kind of decent. There we go. Right. I'm gonna try to get like a casual gradient before I start doing those like little details of the shadows. Like that. Yeah. And then there's a light patch on the top of the chair right here. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm getting it. Get the rim of this pot going here. Boom shakalaka, baby. Yes. No. Never mind. From here, focus on this side of the thing for now. So core shadow is down the middle here, super highlighted here, and then a little bit of a shadow here. Actually, there isn't really much of a core shadow. The core shadow is basically this darker line between the light and the actual shadow. So for instance, this would be the core shadow, and then you blend that out into the shadow. If you get the pressure right. Blend that into the shadow, and then you also blend the darker into the light side. And if you go look at like eggs or something, you'll see like it's a bit darker in the middle than it is. Oh yeah, right. So this light on this side, right here, is casting light back onto this side of the pot or the object, and it makes it ever so slightly lighter than where the shadow begins. That looks weird. You know what? When in doubt, blend it out. Oh, yeah, wait, that's actually the wrong way. And blend it out along the shadow. And then I can go back in, and I can add that lighter area back in. You know what? This is actually not that bad. Hey, okay. Gonna cast a bit of shadow. This one's also gonna cast a shadow. And it's gonna cast a shadow in perspective. And honestly, this is gonna be cast shadow, so I'm gonna make this darker because typically cast shadow is darker than regular shadow. And then we'll get a gradient going up here to the dark corners of the abyss room. There we go. Now we got a little blurrier edges. Nice little blended edges, so it doesn't look too perfect. So we're gonna block out the larger shapes. This shape right here is pretty straight. There's like a trunk of the tree outside that's casting a shadow through the window. And this cast shadow here is going to connect up to this one on the floor. Yeah, let's put in the shadow of the chair. And then this leg is kind of hidden because light is coming at this leg of the chair from multiple angles, like here as well. So it's not like really connecting that shadow because the shadow that is here is getting light from this side and from this side. So it's kind of negating the shadow there. Getting more of a shadow up near the chair, which kind of looks silly. And we can do like this thin little line here. Oh my gosh, wrong. No, how long have I been drawing on the wrong layer? Okay, not that long. Let us redo the rinky-dink little shadow. Here's where we separate out the back of the chair's values. There we go. That makes the contrast a little better. Let's get the rest of this tree in. And don't worry, I'll blend out the edges of this later in order to make it like these edges are blurry and these ones are just very hard. I'll make that difference after I get the shapes blocked in. Getting these shapes in without being too like nitpicky about them at first is probably going to be my downfall. I get so lost in every single tiny little detail, and then it takes me 10 years to get like any actual progress in. Nope, and see, I have not left enough room for the rest of this. Maybe I just made the thing too short. But yeah, let's get this one in here. Try and use the negative space, like, of the lighting. Ooh, that's another really helpful study that you can do on your own if you want to, is negative space studies, because in situations like this especially, they actually do really help.
I'm not gonna lie, not even 15 minutes into this frickin' tree, I was getting so confused as to what I had outlined was if it was shadow or if it was light. I was also kind of struggling with the proportions, and I tried to use the edge of the shadow to help, but like, proportioning shadows is like trying to fit a long word at the end of your sentence. You just end up squishing everything else, and then you realize, oh god, I made the thing too small.
Bruh? Sorry, I'm actually confused at what I'm looking at here. I've lost the plot. I've completely lost the plot. This is an odd shape, and I'm wondering like how I'm gonna make that look natural and like leaves. Because right now it kind of just looks like a wiggly. Oh wait, it looks like a kind of mouth. Like that's the mouth. There's like the nose. There's its eyeball, and he's got little spikes along the back. I love him. He's so cute. I'm gonna make him into a little guy later. And then you guys kind of connect a little bit. You're ever so slightly gonna kiss. These shadows, they're romantically involved, and they are going to kiss. I love, like, just finding random little faces and shapes and stuff. I love that about the human brain. Like, even this guy, look at that. That's his nose. That's his eye. That's his mouth. Look at my boy. I'm totally gonna make these two into, like, happy and sad Goober. We have happy Goober up here, and we have sad Goober down here. Alright, for the last little bit of this time-lapse, I'm just gonna share a little story with you, because an embarrassing thing happened to me this week. So as many of you know, or maybe you don't, the new movie Minions and Monsters is coming out, and to me and my friends, it's a little bit of a big deal. It's a little bit of a running meme. So we saw that Wendy's was putting on a Minions and Meal promotion meal. This was, in my brain, the opportunity of a lifetime. I pull up to that drive-through speaker thing, and you know it's hard to hear. So I say into the thing, "Hey, can I have the Minions and Monsters meal, please? Do you have that here?" And the lady goes to me, she's like, "Oh, let me check." She comes back, she sighs. "What do you want, sir?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry, could I get the Minions and Monsters meal?" She's like, there's a long pause. I'm like, do they have it here? Maybe they don't, maybe she misheard me. But she says, "Sir, what can I get for you?" I say, "Hey, is the Minions and Monsters meal not available?" She lets out the biggest sigh I could possibly imagine a food service worker letting out. But she lets out a sigh, and she goes, "Sir, stop pranking me and tell me what you want." When I tell you I was mortified, oh my god. I ordered, first of all, I ordered my burger, whatever. I pull up to the window. She has the most dead look in her eyes. I'm like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that this was not a real thing. I saw it online. By the way, it is a real thing." And I was like, "I'm so sorry, like, I didn't mean to bother you." But the whole time, she was looking at me like, "You're a 22-year-old man alone in a car, and you're pulling this. You're doing this, really, with your Tuesday night." Okay. Right. So she thought that I was definitely just an insane loser who was asking for the Minions and Monsters meal, which apparently she thought was fake or something. Maybe they didn't have it. I don't know. Maybe other people had pranked her with it before. To that lady, I am so sorry. Alright, let's get back to the video. I just wanted to share my horrors. We're done with the blocking of the shadows. Let's go. I wanted to get a super soft shadow effect on these, like, wall kind of shadows. Like, they're not really shadows. They're just kind of like smudges in the wall from the shade. I don't know what to call them, but I wanted to get this super soft look, so I basically just scribbled in where they would be and then completely blurred and blended them out in hopes that it would kind of get the same feeling as the real light and what it's doing. Our little happy fella's gonna be blended out. Aw, bye, happy fella. Enjoy your blurry lifestyle. Am I about to get lazy and not do the plant? Been 2 hours. No, I should do the plant. And it goes about, yeah, basically to the top of the chair. So I tried as best as I could to follow the shape of the branches in the reference, but for the leaves I took more of this free-form kind of stippling approach, where I used the general round circle brush with a little bit of pen pressure, where I used some pen pressure to get lighter and darker, thicker and thinner dots, you know? Going a little, not too random, but like faking randomness can go a long way for organic shapes. And you still have a plan for where you're putting everything, but you give it this like feel of randomness to it. But in reality, it's this nice, you know, this shape. Okay. Create a clipping mask, and then we're going to get a special effects brush. I'm going to lighten some of these bits and bobs up. So take some kind of textured brush here, go back onto the right layer so you're not just making a mess of your page. And check that out, you have the lit up thingamajig. Always feels great to finish a piece. Now, I am really happy with how this turned out, though there are a few things that I would improve on if I went back to it. First of all, the floor is just kind of really untextured. It looks very flat, you know. I wish I had focused a little bit more on tiling and getting like the little lines of tiles in there just to show that the floor wasn't like this solid block. I also think I made some of the shadows a little bit too thick and undefined right above the potted plant there, where that shadow, it has a lot more detail in the reference picture than it does in my final product, and it kind of just looks like an awkward like claw blob in my version. Like, I don't know, it's kind of like a weird crab claw. I think I should also blend out some of the shapes kind of in the bottom there, and then just extend the bottom of the light on the wall a little bit, because in the reference it does show quite a bit of light underneath the chair, whereas in mine it's quite tight in the light there. But yeah, other than that, I'm super happy with how the chair turned out. I'm really happy with how the plant turned out, and most of the shadows in the tree itself turned out really good, I think. And you know, this blending on the wall here of the super duper soft shadows, I think it adds a lot to the depth of the light. And surprisingly, I'm quite happy with that little thermostat detail. I think it just adds a little bit of extra. Alright everybody, thank you so much for sticking around this long, and if you did, you're the goats. And if you want to stick around and make this the Chillestart community on YouTube with me, then hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and comment what you want to see more of. Cheers, see you in the next one.